Hey everybody, Ashton here with Gents with my top 10 designer list for fall of 2017. Now first up, I've got an honorable mention. The reason this is an honorable mention is because it's discontinued and it's really expensive at this point. That fragrance is Gucci Envy, one of my absolute favorites of all time. If it weren't discontinued, it'd probably be number one. And as an alternative, if you wanted to, you could pick up Carven Homme. That one is really cheap and it's pretty close to Gucci Envy, at least as close as you're gonna get without ponying up a couple $100. This one has ginger, incense, sandalwood, tobacco. It's masculine, it's sophisticated, it's not dated at all, in my opinion. It's a fantastic fragrance. Unfortunately, it's just really hard to find. All right, that's the only honorable mention. Let's go ahead and jump into the official top 10. I actually looked back and believe it or not, I picked all of these up from FragranceNet at one point or another. I'm gonna leave a code in the description for 35% off. That's the current code. If you watch this way in the future, it's probably not gonna work. And if you're interested in picking any of these up, I will link you to FragranceNet in the description for each one of these fragrances. All right, let's start this off. Number 10, John Varvatos Dark Rebel. This has tobacco, leather, rum, sugar, and cardamom. All those notes, you know it's a fall fragrance. There's a lot of cardamom and rum in the opening. It's a really boozy, leathery, tobacco, masculine fragrance. It's a little bit dark. Some people think that it's a little too harsh. Personally, I don't think so. The rum dissipates pretty quickly, and then you've got a vanillic, woody dry down. The problem with this is the performance. It's not terrible, but it's mediocre. Number 9, Dunhill Icon. Now I'll let you guys know, fall here can be really hot sometimes and cool at other times. So my fall fragrances have some fragrances that are darker and some that are not quite as dark. This one has neroli, bergamot, lavender, and black pepper. In the opening, you get neroli and bergamot with a good amount of that fresh black pepper. Some people have compared this to Terre d'Hermès, other people have compared it to a grape soda. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy, and definitely clean. The dry down is softer, has a touch of oud wood among other woody notes. This one is a really classy men's scent. This is one that's probably better suited for people at least 25 years and older. Nevertheless, it's a great fragrance and one that I wear when it's not too cool out. Number 8, Salvatore Ferragamo Uomo. This was actually one of my favorite purchases from last year. There is a lot of sweet in this fragrance. There's a tiramisu note along with tonka, cardamom, and ambroxan, among other notes. The opening is coffee and tiramisu. It's almost edible. It really is a true gourmand fragrance. It dries down with the warm tonka, a little bit of spice. It comes across almost creamy, but this one is sweet the whole way through. Number 7, Gucci by Gucci Pour Homme. The main notes here are tobacco, violet, and cypress. It's actually a really interesting tobacco fragrance. It opens up with a touch of citrus. You can pick the cypress off right off the bat, so it's a little bit green. And as it dries down, you get this smooth, very slightly smoky tobacco note that kind of rounds everything off. To me, it's a very sophisticated masculine scent that gets overlooked. It never really gets talked about all that much. To me, it smells fantastic. The only drawback is the performance is not so good. Number 6, Versace Man, which is my wife's favorite Versace fragrance. This one has tobacco, saffron, and amber. Big surprise, another tobacco fragrance. This one is officially discontinued, I believe, but you can still pick it up really cheap at discounters. So if it sounds interesting to you, I would go ahead and scoop a bottle up, just so you don't have to worry about increased prices down the road. The opening for this is actually really similar to Versace Oud Noir. So if you've ever smelled that, the opening to this is very similar. The opening is sweet, warm, and spicy. The saffron lends a really nice spice note. Then you've got a little bit of citrus and a touch of pepper. Dries down to a darker tobacco with amber and labdanum and a little bit of cashmere wood. So it gets a little bit of that resinous sweetness from the amber and the labdanum, but that tobacco is what really shines through. Overall though, this one's probably better suited for somebody 30 years and up. Number 5, Dior Homme. This has iris, cacao, leather, and lavender. And it's probably best known for having that lipsticky iris in the opening. It doesn't come across as strongly as Dior Homme Intense, so that makes Dior Homme more wearable in fall to me. Obviously, it comes across a little bit powdery, but to me, it's a very sophisticated, gentlemanly scent. As it dries down, the leather and the cacao really come into the fragrance, but you still have that powdery iris lingering for the entirety of the scent. That brings us to number 4, Guerlain L'Homme Idéal Eau de Toilette. The main notes here are almond, tonka, and leather. This one is very sweet off the top. It gives almost a cherry syrup kind of vibe. This is a gourmand fragrance, but it's really easy to wear and very versatile, especially around this time of year. Initially in this fragrance, there's a lot of almond and tonka. As it dries down though, it becomes a woody leather fragrance with tonka riding underneath. This one's classy enough that you can pull it off in multiple situations, so the versatility of it bumps it up a little bit. Number 3, Tom Ford Grey Vetiver. Maybe not a true fall fragrance, but it's one that in cool weather, not cold, not too hot, it actually really shines. Main notes here are vetiver, woods, and grapefruit. No real surprise on the vetiver. Off the top, there's a nice blast of sparkling citrus with the vetiver riding right underneath. And the dry down, the main thing is a clean, smooth vetiver. Not really grassy or green this time around. There's a slight touch of earthiness in that dry down and a little touch of oak moss that kind of completes the whole composition. And the name Grey Vetiver makes sense because when you smell it, it does give off that kind of feel. Guerlain Vetiver, that would be a green vetiver, so Grey Vetiver. Number 2, Ralph Lauren Supreme Leather. Some of the main notes here are leather, honey, tonka, and nutmeg. This one opens up sweet, there's honey, and there's a touch of spice from saffron, which is a really well-utilized note in fall perfumery. The leather in this one is not animalic, it's not harsh, it's actually really soft and honeyed. And honestly, it's more of a spicy sweet fragrance with leather riding underneath than it is leather being a dominant note here. All that said, it's very versatile, very easy to wear, and very pleasing to smell. It's one that I just personally like wearing, it's really nice. And that brings me to number 1, which is actually the exact same number 1 that it was last year, Michael Kors for Men. This has tobacco, plum, dried fruit, and incense, among other notes. The opening's got a lot going on. It's kind of boozy. You can pick up a touch of incense. There are dried fruits. You can pick up the plum. There's even a little bit of spice in the open to go along with all of that. It dries down to a sweet, slightly spicy tobacco note with incense and woods. It's really, really nice. It's one that I can't get enough of this time of year. I actually have 2 bottles of this. Basically, if you like fragrances like Pure Havane or 1821 Man-Made Sweet Tobacco Spirits, this is something you should check out because it's in that vein. I said that last year, it still holds true. So yeah, that's my number 1, Michael Kors for Men. Personally, I think it's an overlooked fragrance. If you like sweet tobacco fragrances, check that one out. And also quick note, there are 2 Michael Kors for Men. One was released in 2001, another in 2014. They're both called Michael Kors for Men. So the 2001 release is the one that I'm talking about. That one has the prominent tobacco note. That was removed in 2014. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll have the top 10 niche list coming at some point in the next week or so. So until next time, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.